Hey guys, you're watching Boondocking with Dennis. I'm in Portland, Texas, and what I wanted to do today was show you the last place I lived when I lived indoors. If you're new to the channel, I've been living in my F-150 with a Lear topper for 3 years, 2 months, 2 days, 10 hours, and 6 minutes. Adjust the seconds accordingly as we go along. I'm going to try at the end of this video to post some photos of the inside of the place where I last lived. But this is Portland, Texas. It has been under construction for years. When I moved here, it's a good sized town. It's just across the causeway from North Beach of Corpus Christi, and they've probably added at least 10 hotels to Portland since I lived here. All kinds of chain restaurants, and it already had a big grocery store, H-E-B. It probably had about 15, 20 restaurants. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 60, 70 different places to eat in Portland right now. And all the stores that come with it, and nail salons. They had a big movie theater here. They still do, but it was here before I moved here. They're been working on the highway. This is actually a nice H-E-B. H-E-B is the local grocery store chain. They have people in there making fresh sushi, like an army of people. But even the one in Rockport has that. I always see 1 or 2 people making fresh sushi. Gas is, what is it here, $3.67. I got it for $3.51 in Rockport this morning with using my discount through Murphy Gas. So that's not bad. I see they added a new car wash over there, one of those duck car washes, that yellow. It's got a big duck in front of it. You can kind of see the duck head under the tree. Every time I come over here, there's something new. Lots of liquor stores here. Starbucks, Denny's, Chili's, all that kind of stuff. The high school football field here is AstroTurf, and there was just a backcountry road here when I first moved here. The speed limit was 70 miles an hour on this road, and now there's a plant on it, a plastics oil refinery type of deal. Not an oil refinery, but a plastics plant, which is huge and still under construction. That's a new Mexican restaurant right there, the Saber Maya. This bike lane is new since I was last down here. So when I would do Uber and Lyft, I would always start in Portland because there's a lot of plants, big plants and factories and whatnot in Portland, Ingleside, Gregory area. And they would all stay at the hotels here. So a good ride is from here to the airport, Corpus Christi International Airport. Now this was 2 years ago. That would pay me $22. If it was an individual, you would get a nice tip. If it was like a business guy, you wouldn't get anything. I don't think I ever had a business person give me a tip, especially people flying in from other countries. They have really just super nice parks here. Ballparks, and they have free splash parks here for kids. So they did put a lot of money back into the community. I would imagine all these businesses, pay extra taxes and That helps for better schools and better parks. I always do the speed limit along here because I would see people pulled over here getting tickets. I think when I was working for Uber, I probably got stopped 3 times, but I didn't get a ticket. So that was real nice of the officers. There's a new development going on here on our right. That was always a cornfield. And man, those little yellow planes that drop water, they would come buzzing right over my apartments. Townhouses, I'm sorry. Townhouses, they're not apartments. That's where I lived, right there in that development. And it looks like they started painting them different colors. They didn't do that before. And let's go up to the entrance. I'll show you which one I lived in. This apartment for me was a nightmare. Just a nightmare. The air conditioning was always going out. So is the front entrance closed? There's 2 entrances here. Looks like they're putting in water pipes. Huh. These homes across the street were just being built and they're almost done. So here's the entrance. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times my air conditioning just didn't work. And I had a 2-story bridge point, or as I like to call them, a shit point. The pool here had a big crack in it. They had a hot tub that didn't work, so they called it a cold spa. It didn't even bubble. It was basically like a puddle, and that was the cold spa. I'm like, no one believes you. Let's go this way. You couldn't get anyone to fix anything. Yeah, I had a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-story townhouse. And the basic bones on it were nice. There was nothing, wrong with it. It's funny. I never, it's Texas. You're going to see a bug from time to time. I never had any bug problems, but once every year, your apartment would be filled with grasshoppers. And yeah, the first year it happened to me, I came home from work. I go up to the office. Yeah, I must have 100 grasshoppers in my apartment. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we know. Maybe you could have told me that before I signed a lease. I don't even know how they got in, but the overhead light in the kitchen would be filled with grasshoppers. And like right on the other side of these apartments, straight ahead, is a pretty big field where I only remember seeing corn. I'm sure they used it for other things throughout the year. But yeah, it was just like bizarre. I'm actually glad I moved here. I moved here in February of 2017, and in August of 2017, Hurricane Harvey hit. And so I was able to house some friends from Rockport, and my buddy Mark and his kids, and Pastor Andy, and a slew of other people came and went. So this was my little circle here. And we lost power for 5 days and water, but like within a week we got power, water, and internet back. Well, I'm thinking about it, you see these these are all replaced. The carport covers. This was my apartment straight ahead. Yeah, when I came back after the hurricane. Oh, good, they're numbered now. This is reserved parking. They were never numbered. I lived in 303. So that is my front door right there. And that was the living room. You can kind of see the windows upstairs. That was in the hallway going up. So there was nothing wrong with them, except you couldn't get anything fixed. But yeah, I'm sorry, back to the carport. That was just like a twisted piece of metal. But I didn't get a broken window or anything here, where Rockport was just torn apart. And we're 25 miles from Rockport. But I didn't mind it. It had good, I'm glad I had a place that had water and electricity and cable. Like, people were coming over who hadn't seen a television on in 2 months, and just kind of staring at a TV, because we were all in shell shock. And a lot of us, if you went through that hurricane, it's definitely still with you. There's no one that went through that hurricane that it didn't affect. The sun is shining. Sun's just working its way out right now. Puppy dog. There were a lot of kids in this area, in the whole apartments, which is, the kids don't bother me, but you just had to be really careful as far as kids on bikes. The pool area is behind the office here up in the front. A lot of workers would use these as crash pads. That's why you get 5, 6, 7 people in an apartment, and you're only going to be there 6 months. Work's going to move you around, so they were always called crash pads. And then I came back in here a lot once I moved out for Uber and Lyft. But I did just want to show you these. This is where I lived when I last lived indoors. And I gotta say, there's another dog. Straight ahead is where you picked your mail up. Yeah. So this was Bridgepoint Apartments. I talked some shit about these apartments, and rightfully so, to the Better Business Bureau, anyone that would listen, Yelp reviews. They just didn't care. Another benefit of living here is, of course, this was never here when I was here. At the end of these apartments, farmland. So it's basically nothing but farmland all the way out there. Yeah. And you could see the wind turbines in the distance. And there's a lot of history that I've covered here, historical markers, but I'm going to try to throw some photos in the end here, guys. Thanks for riding along today. Thanks for watching. All my apartment photos are food and people. Our refrigerator always had drinks in it. That's the fish tanks in the dining room. That is a scrapple and egg and cheese sandwich. I was always baking something. That was the guest room bed. And always had a great selection of coffee. That's how low those planes flew overhead.